up, everybody? You know who it is on this beautiful Monday. It is Ryan and Joey coming at you thoroughly behind enemy lines. We are your allies behind enemy lines, of course, holding it down for all our Washington football fans here in Texas. We are back. We are better than ever. If you're watching us here on YouTube, make sure you have that subscription button hit as well as that notification bell rung. So as soon as we drop this video, you are alerted and you're watching it and you're locked in with us. You can find us anywhere. You can find your podcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're also on SoundCloud, all by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines. You can find us on Twitter at AlliesBEL. That's below here, as well as Facebook, just searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines there as well. So that way you can stay up to date with all of us, all the happenings going in, on, and around the Washington football team. Joey, you're back. It's Monday. You're back from spring break. How's it going? How's your weekend, bud?
It's going good. Just dusting off the old, I guess, what do you want to call it? Dusting off the old boots, the old work boots to get back into the old, the old grind. But yeah, it's good. It's good to be part of a routine again. We're creatures of habit. So when we pull ourselves out of that routine, even if it's for a vacation and you're kind of just at home, but you're in a different routine, you feel a little displaced. So it's good to be, although it did allow me to, truly just chase the entire free agency frenzy last week. But it's good to be back in a routine. I'll tell you that.
That's good. Yeah, it's funny. The older you get, the more routine you like. You don't really like just flying by the seat of your pants. I've learned that the last few years, but really it's like you can really tell like when the schedule is flowing the way it should be, there's nothing better because you don't got to worry about nothing. You just know where you're supposed to be and when you're supposed to be there, and the rest just kind of takes over. But getting into now we're starting today kind of the second phase of free agency. Not a whole lot of news over the weekend. We thought maybe there would be some big signings as far as Washington football team goes. There really wasn't. We signed Tyler Larson, backup center out of Carolina. Some depth along that offensive line, some depth behind Chase Roulier. And then we signed David Mayo, inside linebacker, previously played with the Giants. Not a big impact signing there. But just some small news and notes. We did bring back Danny Johnson. I think we did that a while back. Brought back Danny Johnson on a one-year deal. So again, just some more depth there. Nothing to really shake up what's going on and what we've been building on thus far. So with the slow news week, we thought we'd do what we do best and check out what's going on behind enemy lines. That's what we're here for, right? So kind of taking a look around the division, some signings, some things that are happening with the other teams in our division, and kind of what we think and how that's going to affect our our team moving into the season. And I will say, I think it's going to take a little bit more than 7 wins to win the division in 2021. A lot of teams have gotten better. Maybe one team hasn't. I think you can figure out which team that is in our division. But obviously, one of the bigger signings was the Giants signing Kenny Golladay, 4 years, $72 million, $18 million a year. He gets 28 guaranteed. But obviously, a big signing for them, a huge weapon. I will say, though, we were kind of rumored and linked with maybe going after Kenny Golladay. After seeing that massive contract, I am extremely happy we went the Curtis Samuel route instead of signing Kenny G to that big contract. He's, like I said, 28 guaranteed at signing. Potentially could make around 3 years, $54 million if he doesn't go for the full 4 years. But, I mean, it's a big signing for him. It's obviously a huge weapon to be added. Now they have him. They have your guy, Bigger Play Slayton, as you like to call him. And, of course, Sterling Shepard already added in with Evan Ingram. So, I mean, they have some offensive weapons there to get the ball to. Now it's just up to Daniel Jones to not be fumbling, throwing interceptions, or tripping his own 2 feet in order to get the ball to him. But that offense definitely improved over this offseason so far.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Not to mention the additions of Kyle Rudolph, another veteran pass catcher there, is going to help also in the run game. He's been up in Minnesota and blocking for Dalvin Cook the last couple of years. He's a guy who likes to catch the ball as well, so we'll be able to help them out there. And not to mention the speedster, John Brown, who they silently added there as well. So the Giants or wide receivers are actually stacked. You know what I mean? They're guys that their names. We know Sterling Shepard is a good support, a good Robin. We know that Darius Bigger Play Slayton, as I like to call him, I think he's a true number one. I think he's a diamond in the rough, just like Terry McLaurin was for us. I think that he definitely can lead that core. And now you throw somebody like a big guy like Galladay in there, who was kind of injury plagued last season, but it's someone that can go out there and if you watch Matthew Stafford, Kenny Galladay plays, he just throws it up high and he's like Calvin Johnson. He treated him like Calvin Johnson, just throws it up high, make him go get it and come down with these great catches. Now, just like you said, the answer to that now all the other areas that you thought could be of concern have been eliminated. You got a great running back, you got two great tight ends, a plethora of great wide receivers. Now, can Daniel Jones command that, not turn the ball over? Can he hold on to the ball? Can he not trip when he's running for an 85-yard touchdown? Can he, do a lot of things? Look at his stats last year. I think it was horrendous, for the amount of turnovers he's had. It's been that way throughout his career. But as you said at the very beginning, it's going to take more than 7 wins to beat these types of teams now as they get, all these better players, which I like. You don't want to be in the weakest division in the entire NFL. It's kind of like how we've been for the last couple of years. One team might be a little bit average, but the rest are usually way below average. So I think that they say, what is it? Iron sharpens iron. I think that if we play these types of teams each week, first of all, we're going to get better. Second of all, we're going to get the respect that we want that the league to give us from the rest of the teams in the league. And then third, when we beat them, it's just that much sweeter. So the Giants go out there making moves. We already know. I mean, the whole world knows about the Dak Prescott one. Now it's like the Eagles. They need some hope.
Yeah, they definitely they need a lot more than just hope. They need a miracle, that's for sure. A couple other signings before we move on. Reggie Ragland signs a 1-year, $1.1 million deal with the Giants. That was somebody that I thought we could get for cheap, and that is a very cheap, team-friendly deal. It looks like it's only guaranteed about $137,000 guaranteed at signing. So heavy incentive-laden contract there on a cheap contract for a guy that I think you could get some good production out of. He follows Kenny Galladay over from Detroit. And as you mentioned, Kyle Rudolph. They bring in Devontae Booker, who's kind of bounced around. He was with the Broncos for a while. Was with Las Vegas last year. Comes in with the Giants. So another added back to that running back room that just seems to always have to be a running back by committee, whether it's Saquon going down or whatever it may be. But Devontae Booker, good pass catching back out of the backfield. But as long as Saquon's healthy, I don't think they. Which I think a lot of people are forgetting. Saquon, he didn't play last year, right? He was gone after like the second game or third game, if not earlier than that. And so adding Kenny Galladay, adding John Ross, we'll see. He needs to have a big year, I think, a bounce back year after kind of flopping out of the draft. But with the other weapons that we've mentioned on offense, like this team could be a very lethal team on offense if they can get it figured out with all those weapons. So, I think having those pass catchers with Kenny Galladay, Slayton and Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, that's going to open up the running game quite a bit for Saquon. And we know when he gets in the open field, he can be deadly. He can catch the ball out of the backfield just as well as anybody. Again, it's just on old Daniel Jones there to make sure that he gets the ball where he needs to be and make sure it's the guy's wearing the same color jersey as he is.
Yeah, and I mean, and not to mention Daniel Jones is one of those scrambling quarterbacks that can make plays with his feet. Even though he trips after 85 yards, he can still move with the ball in his hand. So that's just another dimension they can add there. But also, I have rumored that the guy you wanted, Adoree Jackson, has been on one of those extended visits as well with the Giants. It looks like they're wrapping up that defense. I think they even brought out Logan Ryan to help talk to him about becoming and being a Giant. So yeah, it looks like they're making some moves out there in New York to try to see if they can capitalize on this rookie. Same thing we're trying to do, capitalize on these rookie deals that we have in place right now with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. And, us with our defensive line. So some good moves, and that coach out there, he's no BS type Patriot mentality. So he's gonna bring the best out of these players, and they're only going to continue to get better.
Absolutely, and that's and the William Jackson signing for Washington is so much bigger now because you're going to have to go up against Kenny Galladay twice a year. Obviously we know about the trio in Dallas, so adding depth to that secondary and adding a big piece to that secondary for Washington just makes after that Kenny G signing makes it all the more matter that much more. So obviously again a great signing there. As we go over to Dallas. Not a huge amount of moves. They brought in some depth guys. their biggest signing probably so far, Keanu Neal, safety out of Atlanta, which they need secondary help in the worst way. Played for Dan Quinn in Atlanta. Dan Quinn is now the defensive coordinator here in Dallas. So obviously, a guy coming in already knowing the system, and has a good idea of what he's going to be doing. They bring back Jordan Lewis on a 3-year, $13 million deal, 13.5 million, 7 million totally guaranteed. But again, that secondary needed big help. They haven't got it, I think, in the way that they were hoping so far. Keanu Neal is a big boost. Again, he only signs the 1-year deal, which I think is going to be very common for a lot of these guys. Again, the Dak Prescott deal is going to be the biggest one of mention so far, and that's going to be that's going to be their biggest signing of the year, even if it is a guy coming back. But there's still quite a few names out there that they could go out and get to bolster that defense. Not even just, guys to fill in some spots, but they have some guys that they have a ton of spots and a ton of holes that they need to have filled. And so far, they haven't really addressed them. I know Dak Prescott was priority number one, and now they got that out of the way. I think they're limited. They don't have very much room to spend, a lot of money to spend on free agents, so they're gonna have to rely heavy on the draft and hope they hit a lot of those spots. But as far as getting better, Dak Prescott's gonna make that team better. Obviously, they didn't have him last year, but I think they've kind of stayed in place, even going to the beginning of last season when they were still scoring 35 points a game and putting up 500 yards a game and still losing. I don't really know how much improvement the Cowboys have made thus far.
Well, as far as personnel-wise, like you said, there hasn't been much movement on defense. They did pick up, as you said, Keanu Neal, who reunites with Dan Quinn out there. And I know that they've been in talks with Hooker as well, and the other safety from the Falcons, DeMonte Casey as well, have been people that the Cowboys have been talking to. So they definitely are aware of the problems they do have in that secondary. They did bring back Jordan Lewis, I do believe, and they did, and I think they really like Trayvon Diggs a lot. So I think in their minds, if they can solidify that safety position now, they have definitely upgraded that defense as far as that secondary. Now, from what I've been hearing and from what I've been reading as far as people talking about same thing that you just said, what really has the Cowboys done to change other than obviously the things on offense, cementing Dak Prescott and whatnot. But the thought is, and what I'm hearing is that it was a coaching issue more than the personnel issue last year. That there was a scheme being forced on them that they didn't really truly understand. There was a lot of coaching going on, and it was kind of just learn on the fly, baptism by fire type mentality with that defense last year. And as they got frustrated, I think as the year went on, the players just started playing for themselves more and started playing more. playing for themselves as a defense more than trying to follow the coach's scheme. I think that was heard in the locker room. So I think the thought is that the defense is going to be better just because they brought in someone like Dan Quinn, who's going to be able to allow a more player-friendly and scheme approach to that team to be able to adapt and perform better and put them in positions to make plays. So that's kind of what I've heard, and that's what they're banking on. So say with it what you will. I'm thinking they're still having some holes in the secondary. I think their defensive line did play decent last year, but the question of are they going to bring back Aldon Smith or whatnot? He hasn't signed with anybody. I haven't heard yet. So without a pass rush and without a secondary, you are not going to be able to compete in this division.
Yeah, they need a lot of help at linebacker as well. Sean Lee, he's a free agent, but there's no reason to want to bring him back, and they just need somebody to pair up with Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, who have both been really good. Both of them had down years. They both have had health issues and health problems, staying on the field. But there's still quite a few guys out there that they can either bring back that they probably should look at, or even guys that like I said, for bringing in Malik Hookers, the Dory, or excuse me, who's the other fella you mentioned?
DeMonte Casey.
DeMonte Casey. Whoever it may be. See, I thought naturally, now that Dan Quinn was back, maybe this is where they make the move for Earl Thomas, but I still think he's probably too expensive for them, and he's going to want a longer-term deal since he's a bit of an older guy, 32, 33 years old, and they just don't have the money to spend on him. So still a lot of improvement that should be made. As of right now, with the signing of Keanu Neal, maybe they have to score 33 points to win instead of 43 like they did last year. But I don't know that they can do that every week and not give up 45 on the other side. So still a lot of stuff that needs to be addressed thus far for Dallas. The good news is they don't have as many needs or holes to be addressed as the Philadelphia Eagles. Who would have thought the team coming off the Super Bowl win, the most recent, would be in the worst shape and be in absolute shambles? That's the only way to explain it. They just, I mean, I don't know if Howie Roseman or what knows what he's doing over there, if he's just kind of going through a Madden simulator and saying, hey, this move looks like it's good. But they lose Jalen Mills to New England. They're starting safety. He signs a 4-year, $24 million deal. They lose Jonathan Ford, another safety. Duke Riley, outside linebacker. They bring in Andrew Adams from Tampa Bay, who he wasn't a starter for them. He was a depth guy. So they lose Malik Jackson, defensive tackle. He goes over to Cleveland. So they have quite a bit of work to do. Obviously, Carson Wentz was the biggest deal. They traded him away to Indianapolis at the beginning of the year or beginning of the offseason. And they're rolling with Jalen Hurts, and they're trying to build around Jalen Hurts. Well, luckily they have a top 6 pick, which they can use to get a top player in a very, very talented draft this year. But it looks like it's going to be another year or two before they start getting back to their winning ways and pushing for the playoffs and definitely pushing for the Super Bowl.
Oh, I mean, you said your best, Jalen Hurts. I mean, who else do they really even have right now? I know they let Alshon Jeffrey go. They have a bunch of those wide receiver busts that they've drafted the last couple of years, and their tight end Zach Ertz hasn't got a trade yet, but I know he's probably gonna end up in Indianapolis. I'm thinking, but yeah, and they haven't made any moves. But the best thing I can think of is they're definitely just trying to see what they're almost like in evaluation mode and see what they can get to fall to them, and they're in the draft. They have to take a wide receiver in the draft again. I mean, they've had terrible luck every time they've done it, but there's nobody left on the free agency market. So definitely the only way they're going to get any type of person to pair with Jalen Hurts is to go draft him. So it tells you 100% that they are drafting a wide receiver in the draft, whether that be what are the top? I'm getting the top guys, Jalen Waddle or
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase. Yeah. That's what it's going to be. So you can almost bet on that, as far as the same way you can almost bet that the Cowboys are going to draft a cornerback, and probably Patrick Surtain, however, tomato you want to say it, out of Alabama. So you can almost bank on those two things, as far as I'm concerned, as far as our division is mock drafts, because they're positions of need, and they're not positions that these teams are even attempting to address, or by my knowledge, attempting to address in free agency. So. The Eagles, they have some work to do. I look at them already. They're definitely going to be coming in as underdogs for this division.
1,000%, 1,000%. You mentioned their wide receiver group. I'm looking at it here. Currently, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wide receivers under contract, and 2 of them were former quarterbacks in college. So I haven't been playing the wide receiver position for too long. That's Greg Ward and Khalil Tate. He played quarterback down in Arizona. The other wide receivers, obviously Jalen Reagor, their first-round pick that they made last year. We know Arcega-Whiteside, who they took before. Who did they take before DK Metcalf? John Hightower, Quez Watkins, who I've never heard of him, so he can't imagine that he is that great. Travis Fulgham, who had a great year last year for them, a former Washington football teamer, and then Hakeem Butler. So nobody out there really jumps out and is like, wow, that guy, I'm afraid of that guy. So even if you do add Jamar Chase, even if you do add a Jalen Waddle, like that's going to be the guy, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see, even with the addition of a wide receiver. I mean, it's going to be a 1-2 punch between Jalen Hurts and whoever that wide receiver is. I mean, like I said, Arcega-Whiteside, fine. He's okay. Jalen Reagor, still a lot of improvement. Not sure he was a first rounder, but I'm not going to fault him for them drafting him there. But another guy, Greg Ward, who had a good year last year for the Eagles. So as far as offensive weapons go, they're a little lacking. As far as the running back position goes, they have Miles Sanders, who they're expecting a lot from, and I've just never seen it from him. Like he has some big games, he has some big plays, but I've just never really been a big Miles Sanders guy, especially if you look at it from like a fantasy perspective, which is easy to do. Jason Huntley, Boston Scott, who's had some flashes, and then they have Elijah Holyfield out of Georgia, who was a rookie last year, undrafted free agent last year, obviously Vander's son. But so you look at offensive weapons on that side, or that in the backfield too. it's really, really lacking. So they've got to be in full evaluation mode because, I mean, there's just not a whole ton to evaluate right now.
No, not a lot. Like I said, those Eagles, that when you trade away a quarterback like Carson Wentz and eat the kind of money they do, maybe they just don't have any money to sign anybody, and I haven't really paid attention to their cap situation, so maybe they're just having to let some of this contract money bleed out, and hope that they can find some diamonds in the rough in the draft.
Yeah, that's really what they're gonna have to do. I'm trying to pull up see how much calorie space, how much cap space they do have. Let's see. I'm looking at it right now.
Well, I mean, I know they ate the most ever when they're eating this with Carson Wentz. It's the history of the most salary cap money eaten or taking the hit.
Yeah, I'm not. Sorry, I'm kind of. So they have. Let's see. I'm not finding it here. Obviously, it's not very much. Yeah, they don't have any. That's it right there. They don't have it.
It's so hard to find. They can't even find it. They can't even find it themselves. They can't even put it on the.
Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. They are 31st in cap space. They are $5 million over the cap. Or excuse me, $15 million over the cap. So yeah, they have zero cap space. They're
so that's why they haven't been signing anybody, because they're still trying to figure out how to get under.
They actually they are, if you just take their top 51 top 51 players on their roster, they are $5 million under the cap, which this doesn't make sense. $5 million over the cap. But if you take their full cap space, they are $15 million over, and that's actually more than the Rams, who they just spend like it's nothing. They spend like there's no cap really at all. So they're technically 32nd. They technically have the worst amount of cap space, or are over the cap more than anybody in the NFL. So,
which makes sense. You lose on it after if you trade away, a $130 million contract before it even starts. You're gonna have.
You're gonna
have some issues. You're gonna have some issues there. So.
And releasing Alshon Jeffrey, he's causing about $10 million worth of dead cap space. So yeah, they got some problems down there. Not even problems. They got some problems.
Yep, they got some problems down there in Philly. No wonder they're so bitter. No wonder their fans are always so bitter. That's not a place to have problems at either. That town's gonna overtake the team. Talk about some riots.
Right. So that's a look at around the division. So obviously so far, I mean, bias aside, you have to say Washington's had the best offseason so far. I mean, we've had the best offseason according to Pro Football Focus in the NFL. So we're definitely gonna have the best offseason thus far as signings go. In our own division. Now, we've seen this before where we've had the best offseason, and we're raising the banner of the offseason, and then it turns out not to be the case when the regular season comes around. But times are changing. Regime is changing.
Cultures are changing. Names changed. Everything's changing.
So we're hopefully changing the way that usually goes when we make a big impact in the off season. But that's that. So obviously we're gonna go ahead and not obviously, but we are gonna hit up that mock draft real quick. I don't know, are you gonna pull it up real quick, Joey?
I'll pull it up. I got it up here, but I got it up for us.
Cool. So I'm not making any changes. Of course, Joey made his changes on Friday's show. I'm still sitting back and kind of waiting to see. I still feel very good about where I stand with my picks. And what I really feel great about was when I went back and changed the Greg Newsome pick to Dylan Moses, because now they're saying Greg Newsome's going to be in that maybe 20 to 25 range. So we would have had zero shot of getting him at 51. But
turn off again.
Little intro.
I love it when that happens. And I cannot pull up the mock draft season right now. It's now allowing me to. So, but
okay, that's okay. We're not making any changes to it.
Yeah, no changes to it anyway. But as you've taken a look at that Pat Fryermouth tight end, that guy he's climbing the boards as well, and that name's going to become more common, I believe. That tight end out of Penn State. Also, that Jock. Yeah, I mean, I know you. I saw, who else was it? I saw that they're starting to push another Zaven Collins. I see another one they're pushing up in our draft as our mock draft as well. So it looks like a lot of people are thinking like how we're thinking, which that's obvious. We need a linebacker or offensive tackle, man. And I think both our drafts are. I mean, they symbolize that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Zaven Collins. So the reason I bring up the mock draft, even though we're not talking about our mock draft, every Monday, Washington Football Team website, they have WashingtonFootball.com. They have a different expert each Monday give us who they think Washington should pick with their first pick at number 19. And so I thought I'd run through them a little bit and we'd kind of discuss it. They've now had, I believe, 6 experts give us who they think Washington should pick. And today was NFL.com's Lance Zierlein. And his pick for Washington was none other than linebacker out of Tulsa, Zaven Collins, which, again, like you said, a lot of people thinking the same thing. Now, the only reason I didn't go with Zaven Collins, because he was a guy that I kind of had my eye on a little bit in that first round, was because he is an outside linebacker, and I would like to have a little bit more inside linebacker help. But Zierlein says Collins is a huge active linebacker with excellent coverage instincts, which is exactly what we need, somebody that can cover, and an ability to become a tackle stacker at outside linebacker, which, again, I'm not going to complain if we do end up taking a guy like that. You know, it sounds like he's an athlete. It sounds like he's a guy that's going to be all over the field and making plays for us. So I would not be upset if we take Zaven Collins.
No, I wouldn't be upset. I just think that I think that someone that we need somebody to control those linebackers. I think, again, he'd be a more support role for somebody else that's going to kind of be running that defense. And I think if we bring in somebody like we talked about, Dylan Moses, or talking about, Jock out of Notre Dame, someone like that's going to really command the defense. And I think we're going to need a commander of this defense. And I think that Zaven Collins, although he'll be a great addition, and I just would hate to see him go ahead of Jock out of Notre Dame. I mean, if that's who falls to us, that's who falls to us. And if he's available, he's available. But I just think it's kind of a reach right there at 19.
So what if I told you this, would this change your mind? He has the highest coverage grade of any linebacker that PFF has ever recorded.
Really? Well, what's his stats? What's his height again?
I don't have that off the top right now. We could probably look that up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know he is of decent size. It's not like he's a 5'9", 5'10" guy. I know he's
he probably are. I'm looking him up as well here. Zaven Collins. I think I looked at him before. He's 6'4". So he meets all the criteria. I don't understand why he's not on my mock draft. No, just kidding. I still think that it's maybe he's fallen. Maybe he's fallen. As far or going up, I should say, because he was a little bit in that no man's land at like 27, 28, where we kind of be reaching for him. The more I looked at him, so I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at that pick, but again, I think we still need somebody in the middle that can really hold down that defense. But I wouldn't be I'd be celebrating because we addressed the position.
Yeah. No, agreed. So a couple weeks back, February 15th. So this is a while ago. The reason we're doing this now is because obviously they have a couple guys that we can kind of talk about. Now this was over a month ago. This is Mel Kiper, and this was back before the Curtis Samuel signing. And he had us taking Kadarius Toney. We both talked ad nauseum and at length of how neither of us really liked that pick. Oh, excuse me. Thank you. And how we didn't think that was really a position that we needed to attack in the first round, that we could get somebody similar or that can maybe add a little bit more value later in the round. So, not a whole lot there. Just again, that's who Mel Kiper kind of went with for us. But I think even he's changed that since then.
I mean, it's. I mean, as you guys remember from the last show, I definitely think with the additions of depth, at the line, again, that the offensive tackle position is not such a huge need, especially if we're not being able to grab one of those top 3 we keep talking about. And that being Sewell, Darisaw, or my guy, what's his name?
Rashawn Slater?
Rashawn Slater, yeah. If we can't grab one of those 3 guys, we definitely should not grab a tackle at 19. And, other than that, again, if we're not addressing the position of tackle with one of those 3 guys or the linebacker, we got to trade back the pick. There's nobody else. I think that we're wasting a pick if we're going after or reaching for one of these wide receivers or one of these running backs that we don't really need to kind of But I kind of trust in the process, and it looks like we're definitely just picking off holes of things that we need. And I definitely think that we're either going to get a tackle or a linebacker. And it's hopefully, if it's not one of those three, it's a good linebacker.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I will tell you, though, man, after reading Zerline's article about Zaven Collins, I got a little chubby in my chinos reading it. Like, hey, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it, man. Like you said, that size, 6'4", 260, a guy that plays well in coverage. Yeah, so, I do not hate that move if he's there. Now for Daniel Jeremiah. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's like Devin White, but Devin White without Levante David. I mean, that's how it'll kind of be. That's kind of how it will be. It'll kind of, so that's the only thing. That's the only drawback I have on that pick.
Yeah. I mean that's a fair assessment too. I think that's totally fair. Now going to Daniel Jeremiah, genius. I mean, I think Daniel Jeremiah, he's the go-to guy.
He must have Darisaw.
Bingo. Yep. Ding, ding, ding. That's exactly right. He has us taking Christian Darisaw there, so we already know how I feel about that.
Well, why don't you look up Charlie Casserly? Look at Charlie Casserly's number 19 pick.
Well, I was gonna get there. I was gonna give my credit where credit's due. Don't worry. But again, so Christian Darisaw, that's who Daniel Jeremiah has taking. Now, as we get to Charlie Casserly, he has the one and only Jock Jeremiah Owusu-Karamoah out of Notre Dame, who none other than Joey here just on Friday had as his number one pick. Which again, a big time kind of linebacker, that middle linebacker position that we're looking for. So again, I mean, we know how Joey feels, but go ahead and you can kind of reiterate a little bit here.
Well, as I said before, this guy is a starter. Someone that's played the position. I'm not saying Zaven Collins is not a starter. He's not as big as Zaven Collins. I think he's 6'1". I'm pretty sure he's 6'1". But his ability to go sideline to sideline and not only cover, but again, I remember him. He might have had the third or second highest PFF rating because his was right up there as well. I remember that being a thing I liked about him as well. Not to mention to be able to support the run and help control those other linebackers. I mean, someone like that, a leader of this defense, someone that can come in and help bolster that position that's been such a hole for a long time. I think would just be. I think it's be a great spot for him. He's a 4-year starter and someone that that's used to playing and used to winning at this level, I believe. So I think that's someone that is coming round out this number one defense in the NFL next year.
Yeah, I mean, again, that guy puts a little chubby in my chinos too. If I'm being completely honest, that's these bigger. I mean, he's like I said, he's 6'1", 215, so he can kind of play all over the place. He played on the line a little bit, but he played in the box for Notre Dame. He played in the slot for Notre Dame. Like, he did a lot for him. So he's got a good mixture of speed and size that he can.
I mean, he's Landon Collins. He's Landon Collins, basically Landon Collins, but one that wants to play linebacker.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Just another comparison he's drawn is a more prepared Isaiah Simmons, out of who's someone who has all those things we talk about. Who's 6'4", who's physical, but just didn't have the great rookie year that we thought he was going to have. I think that this guy can come in and be that more third. He could be the Landon Collins of we want Landon Collins to play linebacker. This is how it would look.
Yeah, absolutely. So next we have Cynthia Freeland. She's of the NFL Network. She used to do some work with ESPN. She's a lot of stats and analysis. She's kind of a numbers gal where she just kind of looks at the numbers and goes off of that. She has a lot of good insight on a lot of stuff going on around the NFL. She has us taking Patrick Surtain, which if he falls to us and there's not a tackle or a linebacker there, I absolutely would take him. I would love to have him, as our third corner. A guy that can come in and learn under Kendall Fuller, and William Jackson, and just be a nice piece. A guy that was projected as a top 10 pick. If he falls to us at 19, I absolutely think that, that's a great spot for him. And two, with the defense we have, a young guy, they're going to be susceptible to making mistakes. So when we have a good defense like we do, we might be able to cover up some of those mistakes. Now, will there be a couple glaring ones? Yeah, probably. But just chalk it up to him being young, him being, pretty much young and just not having quite the experience at the NFL level. Obviously, it being his rookie year, that I think we can get by with it.
Yeah, we possibly could. And, I love the pick, too. I think you're getting a top 10 talent at 19. I think you got to take it every time. But I just don't see him falling to us at 19. And especially now with the William Jackson signing. I don't even know if the coaches would. I don't know if this was done before or after that. If if that would change the decision making on there. But again, I think he's if not the best, one of the best cornerbacks in the draft. And with so many teams that need a cornerback ahead of us, I mean, you can even throw the Eagles in there that need a cornerback as well. I think so many teams. Almost every team above us in the draft could use a cornerback, I believe. So I just don't see him making it through that. But she is a numbers, as you said, she's a numbers person, and she gets up there and does some analysis. So I would definitely. Many times I thought she's going to be wrong. She's been right.
Yeah, no doubt. And the last one, Chad Reuter of NFL.com as well. He also had us taking Patrick Surtain there, so he's locked in right there. But again, if that guy like that falls, I wouldn't be upset with any of those picks that were given there. Surtain, the only one is Kadarius Toney, but again, that was from over a month ago. I think even Mel Kiper has updated his mock draft since then. I'd have to double check his mock draft to see what he does have us picking in 19. But, Zaven Collins, your boy Jock, obviously Darrisaw is my number one choice for that first pick. And then absolutely Patrick Surtain, a guy that we haven't talked about a lot because we don't think he will be there. But again, that wouldn't be a bad pickup for Washington at all. Doesn't really address something that could be, again, that's somebody that can make a huge impact day one, like a Zaven Collins, like a Jock, like a Christian Darrisaw, but still adding a nice piece to the puzzle for sure, to make a complete picture there.
Definitely.
That's all I got for today as far as the news notes. Like I said, kind of a slow weekend, mostly just March Madness stuff going on. But that's all I got. Joey, you got anything else before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of these agents even probably and players are watching March Madness, not even trying to get a deal done this weekend. We saw a lot of great upsets, and this can turn out to be one of the best or the most exciting Sweet 16s we've seen in the last 2 years at least.
Well, definitely better than last year. That's for sure.
That's what I was going for. Going for. But yeah, and, hopefully this week, so a lot of this more starts to take shape. I mean, we're all in draft. After this first huge wave of free agency, which we're still in the first wave. Even though it's kind of dying down, the second wave is not going to hit till after the huge one, till after the draft. Once people draft some people, and then they're like people that are kind of like, are going to get that. A lot. I think the Cowboys and the Eagles obviously going to be one of those teams that are going to have to cut a lot of people after they make their draft selection. So. We're in draft mode season, so you're gonna hear us talk a lot about this mock draft and kind of even if it's just one player and analysis as we kind of get more in depth. It's just like everything as we kind of just like try. There's a lot of names on paper right now, and as we get closer and closer, as we see the same names on paper over and over again, we're gonna learn more and more about them. And the same names keep popping up. Darrisaw's been there since day one for you. Linebackers, these couple we've talked about, have been there since day one for me. So I think as we get to know these guys a lot more, as we see their pro days, as we see the film on them, we're going to be able to get a more solid mock draft. And I wouldn't be surprised if we nail this number 19th pick.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a couple of these. You know what I mean? Like if we're, hit the nail on the head with at least two, maybe even three of these picks. Which if we do that, I think that's pretty money. Especially
that never happens. Yeah. I mean, I think the only one was it Jonathan Allen or Deron Payne that we wanted that we got.
Yeah.
I think Deron Payne we wanted. What's his name though?
For the Buccaneers.
Vita Vea was who we wanted there. We got Deron Payne, who I think we reached at, but was a good reach. That's one of those times when the reach worked. And other than that, we never. I mean, Dwayne Haskins. I don't even know what we were thinking. We never thought he'd fall to. I think who did we want that year? Because we didn't think he was going to fall to us. I wanted Drew Lock.
You wanted Drew Lock, and I mean, I think.
Who would you rather have had? Who would you rather have had right now, though?
I mean, I think it's what do they say? 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. I forget who we wanted at 17 there.
I know who I wanted. I wanted Drew Lock. I just didn't think it was going to happen because he was projected in the second round. I think it was a wide receiver.
Yeah, I think so too. I'll have to go back and look. What was that? The 2017 draft?
The 2018.
The 2018 draft?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up right now because
that was definitely the year that I wanted. I thought I'd preached DK Metcalf to you, and what were you saying? I forgot what you
only run in a straight line.
Exactly. So that's another name I've thrown at you. That I've been pretty good with these mock picks and diamonds in the rough. I don't know if there's one person that I've liked that has been a bust. I still don't think Drew Lock can count yet. But
it's getting there. Yeah, I'm looking right now. I don't even know exactly who I wanted. Or wait, no. So it was 20. So it had to have been the 2019 draft because 2018 was the Deron Payne draft.
Oh yeah, 2019 draft. Oh my bad.
Let me see. So that was the Kyler Murray draft. Yeah. So Dwayne Haskins.
Might have been on that. I don't even know.
I don't know who I would have. I don't even remember who I really wanted there at that spot. Because I'm looking here, and none of these guys are really jumping out like, oh, that's who I wanted.
And I remember that draft being that way. I remember that draft being that way too. Like, there's not a whole heck of a lot of names. We had Case Keenum already, but I think by this time.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking that he was going to be our quarterback, and so I think I was still thinking wide receiver. And I think I was it was not DK Metcalf was one of them, and I think there was another wide receiver I might have wanted, and it wasn't CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb was last year anyway.
Well, there was Marquise Brown, there was AJ Brown, Mecole Hardman, Arcega Whiteside, Paris Campbell.
Nope. I don't want any of those guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember that. I don't remember from that draft. I guess we're just scarred from that draft of who we wanted, who we ended up with. But It is what it is. It's all worked out now, I guess. But yep. But until Friday's show, that'll do it for us here. Again, always make sure that you're subscribed and have that notification bell rung here on YouTube. Find us anywhere you find your podcast: Spotify, Apple, Google, and of course SoundCloud. All by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines. We're on Twitter at AlliesBEL. You can find us on Facebook, Allies Behind Enemy Lines, where we drop all of our episodes as soon as they hit YouTube. They are uploaded there as well, so you can check us out and follow us along there. But until Friday, enjoy the tournament, the rest of the show, the rest of the games today, and we will see you guys on Friday. Have a great week. Take care.